Good evening, scholars, and welcome back to the Restricted Collection, a podcast about tabletop games. I'm your host, the head librarian Chad, and this evening we're joined by our liaison to the Silver Twilight Lodge, Nick. Good evening, Nick.
Hello.
And our amygdalin keeper, Pat. Hey, Pat.
Howdy. I'm glad to be back on my favorite art podcast.
We're always happy to have you.
hmm
Uh, so, dear listener, we recently finished our blind run of The Matter of Britain, and this is just going to be it's a fan-made campaign for Arkham Horror by Frying Tonight. And yeah, we're just going to do a quick time warp episode discussing our experience through it. So, what'd you guys think of The Matter of Britain?
Big takeaways. Merlin needs more fiber in his diet.
Okay, we're going to make that joke to start. Okay.
Oh yeah, it's the best time to start this whole thing off with.
I mean, there was an awkward pause. I had to fill it with something.
He beat me to it. I was either gonna save it or trying to figure out how to work it in, but
I had completely forgotten that joke, by the way, due to the sleep deprivation until Nick sent the screenshot. And I was like, yes.
You had mentioned sending that. I'm like, well, I got to do this.
Yeah, that's fair.
Dear listener, the only thing that you are missing out on is...
Should we spare them? Should we really take a moment and not...
The best part about this joke is not knowing why we're going to be making fun of Merlin so much.
I also just think, some things aren't helpful, right? Like,
let it be known that we were entirely sleep deprived and made a joke, and it made us laugh really hard.
Yeah, like, in the light of day, I'm not sure it's funny.
Okay, I'll just leave it. I'll just play it as a lies. That's fine.
In fact, the joke kind of might stink a bit.
Okay. So, other than Merlin,
I mean, it was a pretty fun campaign overall. It had some fun ideas in it.
Mm-hmm.
Arthurian Legend is a fun time.
Yeah, I was overall positive on it. I liked the kind of the general conceit of like, here's this story, this legend. How are you going to change it or not change it as you kind of go through the different scenarios? So I thought that was neat.
It does also contain the best scenario ever penned.
Yes, it does.
With the greatest treasure ever conceived.
Yes, exactly. See, Pat gets it. He understands. It doesn't take much. All you have to do is describe it as that, and he knows exactly what I'm talking about.
I've been known to understand a thing or two in my day. But no more than that.
At least at a time.
Yeah.
I think the strongest part of this campaign is the story and the way it kind of weaves itself together. It was like there were so many moments where we were like, did we miss a thing? Like in scenario 3 when it's like, check if you have Excalibur. Like where was Excalibur? Where did we miss Excalibur? And we can ask Sir Arthur about one topic before he leaves for his meeting, and we can choose one of 4 different things, all of which were called upon at different points, but we can only get one of them at a time. We got, at this point I'm going to say spoiler light, one of 5 different variants of the Black Knight. Like, there's a lot under the hood here, like story-wise, mechanically, to make all of this work, and it's quite impressive.
There was a lot of checks that we had from the campaign log that like, how does one reach that check?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it had a lot of I'll call them replayability hooks in those campaign log checks of like, if this has happened, or if the investigators have done this, or if someone has, like you said, Chad, Excalibur or the Holy Grail in their deck. And there were just several times where we were like, how? And like that was enough of a nugget to be like, oh, I wonder what would happen if we went back and did something different. Like if we had asked a different question or, gone for a different outcome in the scenario. Mm-hmm. So that was generally a really fun like element of playing through, at least the first time.
Yeah, and definitely going through it, our blind run, we felt like we were missing a lot
Oh, I
going.
totally expected us to like walk up to something and then it'd be an extremely hard finale. Not that it was
Yeah,
an easy finale, but but then they just get totally wrecked and like be told that we did not go through the like effectively get the bad ending of a campaign.
yeah. I think we might have gotten one of the more basic versions of the Black Knight, and again, I'll get more into specifics when we get past this. Um, but no, I think the story was very interesting. The writing was very good. The best scenario ever penned. And it inspired me to go dig into Arthurian legend to refresh myself on it so that I can be like, okay, who are these people again, and how exactly? Because like there's the note, I'm trying to find it, but I haven't found it, where they have the name, so they have the role, and because they have the role, they have the fate. And I'm like, okay, in traditional tellings, what happens to X character, so that I can be aware of like where maybe this is going and what might be happening.
Yeah, it's hard to know
Uh,
if your narrative choice is off the beaten path if you don't know necessarily what the path has been beaten upon before.
yeah, it had just been a hot minute since I'd like refreshed myself on Arthurian legend. Um, Lamorte Arthur in high school, like that gave me enough
Wrong
Arthurian legend
choice.
for a while.
Yeah, wrong choice. That's the bad one. It was one of the bad
uh,
ones.
yeah, we had the choice of a couple different Arthurian legend books, and I chose Lamorte Arthur, and you chose
Once and Future King, baby.
Once and Future King, which I think was the best choice of the three. I forget what the third
If you
one
wanted to
was.
enjoy your life while reading it, yeah, that was the impression I got. Now, some
The
people
other
like to
one,
do things on hard mode, but
sure. The other one was like what, Mists of Avalon.
you got it. Wow, yeah, 10 out of 10 on the memory game. You win. You
That
want a cookie?
that was like a 50-50 guess in my mind.
I'd like a
Well,
cookie.
here, all right, Nick, I'll mail you a cookie.
Perfect.
It's gonna be oatmeal raisin, and it will be moldy.
Oh well, the moldy part's no good, but I do like oatmeal raisin
We'll
cookies.
just
Was it
cut around the mold,
Was it
okay? Just
moldy when you put it in the mail, or is it moldy by the
that's
time it gets to
not
him?
material to the discussion, Chad, and no one can prove whether or not the cookie I mailed was moldy to begin with.
Uh, okay.
I rest my
um,
case. Your Honor, the offense rests. It's called the prosecution, Pat. Nope, it's offense.
definitely feels like I'm on the defense. Um, the uh, the thing that I'm going to say for anyone who has not played this and is looking at this, I think it is worth playing. Um, the thing that I'm going to warn you about, and
Scenario
the
three
thing,
alone is worth playing.
Scenario 3 is worth playing. Scenario 3, I'm going to be there's going to be what I extract from this and put into the library.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that would be a solid standalone.
Yeah.
yeah. There's after scenario 3. So scenario 4A, 4B, 5, 6, and 7. So over half the campaign has this tendency, and this is going to be like where it just kind of throws a lot at you halfway through the scenario. Um, and like that's kind of like from a pacing issue, I kind of started dreading a little bit the pacing of just like, okay, when's the shoe going to fall, and what is that shoe going to look like going through these scenarios, where it's like, okay, things are progressing, things are moving, and then halfway through something big happens, and I'm not even trying to be hyperbolic here, but like, so there was like spawn 10 cards and read all of them and figure out what you're supposed to do next, and it's just like this. If there's one major criticism I have of this campaign, it's just like I feel like the pacing for going from 0 to 60 on scenarios was just a little fast. But if people are if you're up for something that's a little bit more complicated and throws a lot at you, like then this is definitely more of a campaign for you.
Yeah, we might get into a bit more when we talk about some of those later scenarios, but like I don't think that pacing problem is aided by the fact that it felt like several had like a first act or agenda where you really could have like the signals being given were that you could afford to take your time, whereas
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
maybe in reality or point in fact you couldn't. And it was never super clear to me whether or not we should be rushing or if we should be exploring and building up for what was coming later. Like it didn't feel super consistent in that regard, which I think made the pacing problem hit even harder for a scenario where maybe we spent tons of time like in those first phases, like building the engine and getting things up and running, only
Yeah.
to find out that like, oh no, this was just the preamble, and now we really need to like do something else that we weren't expecting.
Yeah, I do definitely remember that with I think it was scenario 5 question mark. Uh, we weren't sure when we should be like trying to push forward, and then suddenly it's like, oh wait, now we understand how we should push forward, and then everything got thrown at us, and we're like, okay.
Hmm.
The castle in the field.
No, the exhibition is what the one I'm thinking of.
Oh, the exhibition. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. We'll
the
get to
castle
some of
actually was
those.
surprisingly straightforward. Um,
Well, except for that one thing that happened.
well, that
That's not the game's fault.
that was a
That's
weird
not the campaign's
interaction
fault.
that I don't expect the campaign to have figured out.
It's not the
Yeah.
campaign's fault, nor could it be, nor is it the designer of it to be responsible for it. But like when that happened, like the way that both of you, the wind got immediately taken out of your sails, and you were like, I guess we just lose. I was just like, as someone who's not that experienced, I was like, oh, this is a big deal.
Well,
But
I
yeah,
thought
Yeah.
at first I thought at first the scenario was broken. Like I thought we literally couldn't like progress anymore. And then I'm like, no,
yeah,
I guess we can. It's just gonna be a pain.
yeah.
Yeah. But that's on the that's technically a player card side of the issue, not a campaign issue. It's just unfortunate how our weaknesses interacted with each other
At the exact
in
right
light
moment.
in the
Yeah.
exact in the exact right moment in light of what the campaign wanted us to do. Like that, so that's it's the interaction that hurt us in that instance, which we'll get to, is a player card weakness side of the equation. Um, Not helping the whole pacing problem that I want to give a warning about. This might be that's me hedging my bet. This feels like the most surge heavy campaign I've ever played.
It is. Like that's not really a question. There's you can I have and I would expect plenty of people to draw sometimes 4 or 5 encounter cards. It's just a lot of surge in the decks.
And it's not like typical surge where it's like you draw it and it either surges or does something. No, you'll have like a surge and it does something, and then you'll draw another card and it's like surge and it still does something. And it's just like I just want to stop drawing cards. Like I've already drawn cards and I've already had a bad thing happen. Why am I still drawing cards?
Yeah.
And it wasn't
um,
even, I don't know how you guys felt about it. I didn't even feel like that surging made the scenarios any harder than your standard thing. It was just more unwieldy to like be tracking everything that was happening. And like
yeah,
it just made that phase of the game last longer between the action, like the investigator phase,
Yeah.
right?
yep,
Like it didn't, I don't know, my opinion on the matter was that it didn't make things any harder. It just made them more cumbersome.
Yeah. Like
yeah.
if you want my
I
personal opinion, I think 6 of the cards that are there, or 4 of them, whatever the count is in the end, didn't have to be surges and probably shouldn't have been.
the ones that attach to the Black Knight.
Yeah, those should not have ever been surge cards.
Yeah. So basically every scenario except for the final
Because
two, I
they
don't
make you
really
do
feel
a
like
test. Why do they surge?
they are a surge card that makes you do a test, and it's just like, okay, so like it's already. I think they're also a 4 difficulty test that you have to do that just powers up the Black Knight, and I'm just like, okay, like
Whoops, all tests.
yeah, there was a lot of. I wish there were more. At least from like a mythos phase pacing point of view, I wish there were more cards that were just like we either do a thing or we surge, or even better, we do a thing, and if we can't do that thing because the circumstances don't exist, we do a different thing. That because like it just started mucking up a lot of like encounter card interaction stuff. You were Nick, you were playing with First Watch, and there was just a point where I remember you going like, I have to draw all of these because they all surge into each other. So it's
Yeah,
like
So it's like
Okay.
it's gonna be whoever draws the last one, and like I can change the order of that, but like it doesn't really matter because if I give this to one of you, it's gonna surge into the next card, and then you get this card. So
Yeah. It it just made it a lot more finicky in the Mythos phase.
honestly, it just makes it finicky isn't correct. It makes it overbearing, and it makes the Mythos phase just really ridiculous from an upkeep, like in bookkeeping standpoint, effectively. Like
Yeah.
in the fiddliness of having to run the game, like you have to like sit there and wait for someone to finish drawing through the surges that they're drawing. Then finally the next person can maybe
What
draw
was
their card.
our record on surges?
Five or six for me.
I
I
was
stopped
thinking 5 or
keeping
6.
track, like legitimately. Like it just was like it's a lot. It's it's like the ancients' way of counting one too many. Like
Yeah,
one, two, a lot, right?
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Because I definitely in the finale drew six at one point. I know that happened.
Yeah. So, uh again, just to be clear, we all liked this. We all liked the story. We all liked playing through this. However, if Mythos card pacing and some scenario pacing might be particularly problematic for you, maybe give this one a pass.
just as a footnote, I do think given the theme of like choice and consequence in like the actual narrative of the campaign, rather than having as many surges there were, I would have preferred more peril actually.
Yeah, me too.
Sure.
So like a peril and then choose, A, B, or C. But
Sure.
I feel like that would
would
be like
I would have
both
preferred that as well.
mechanically and thematically fitting. But
But yeah, I guess to cap this off again, I give it a thumbs up. I'm not exactly sure where it lands uh, on my ranking of the campaigns at this time, but it gives a recommendation if this is, thematically interesting to you, and you're not deterred by some pacing issues. I would recommend this campaign.
yeah, not
I'd give it a thumbs up as well. I'd be willing to play it again. Probably not for a little while, but I'd play it again.
yeah, not that my opinion is worth much in this forum, but I would say that this was one of the custom campaigns that I actually am most intrigued to play again.
Huh,
So I'm a thumbs up on it, and it's specifically because of all of these like alternative path hooks that were baked in throughout. There
it's
were
true.
so many like things, like what you had mentioned, Chad, about like in the third scenario, like if the investigators have Excalibur, like that has been planted in my brain Inception style that I'm like, how do I get that sword so early?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like it's intriguing to me. Like so. I'm positive on it. I'm thumbs up. Out of all the ones we've done, I'm most interested in playing it again. But like Nick said, probably not right now. Um,
Yeah.
like I wouldn't immediately want to jump back into it, but that's just me.
All right. So we briefly mentioned this when we had previously talked about the matter of Britain a little bit. Uh, I played through as my walking library of Daisy Walker. I basically was the main clue getter. Not that Pat did not. Pat definitely carried his fair share of clues, though. Um, but I was like the main burst clue getter, and also flexed into a bit of support, taking advantage of all of the blessing that Pat was doing. Um,
I
Pat,
got
this was
no
your first time playing as Sister Mary. How did that go?
I bless.
You bless.
I bless bag. Bless bag go burr.
It was
No,
really appreciated.
I like Sister Mary. This was the first investigator I played that had like bag manipulation in any like meaningful way, and some of the upgrades that I got played around a little bit more with that. Like sealing tokens and stuff was never something I'd really done, so it was fun in that regard. Um, I was kind of like, uh, she didn't really. This might have been the first Guardian that I played. She didn't really give like strong Guardian vibes, to be completely frank. Um,
No.
and
Is
I
the
kind
most
of like
yeah.
between you two. I mean, you were really the Clover, and Nick was really the monster killer, and I just happened to like be there.
But like,
It was pretty much like I was. I don't even know what the right word would be, but I was effectively like supplemental to both of what you were doing, which was good because like with 3 investigators, you need to have the speed to keep up with that. But
Yeah. It's
um,
generally kind of
You,
referred to as flex, as being the flex
yeah,
in the group, because you
yeah,
could
I mean,
move
you
to
could
whichever
definitely
role
do
you needed to.
damage,
oh yeah.
and you could definitely get clues.
I mean, as far as I was concerned, my main contribution was making the bag as holy as possible so that Nick could come in and smite the unholy wretches that were in our path.
Yeah, yeah.
Sister gave me
Um,
permission. That's all I could ever say.
and then Nick, you were playing as Tony
Yeah.
Morgan.
My spellcasting Tony Morgan deck, because Tony Morgan can do anything he wants.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, it's a fun time. I got to I had made this deck for a one-off, just as a weird, crazy idea. I'm like, oh, this might be fun to play through in a campaign. The main core of it doesn't take too much XP to get online, and it was fun. In the future, I would probably build it to be a little bit less focused, maybe on just being full of death. Um,
it was very full of death.
I didn't
I mean,
need as I didn't need as much as I had, but this campaign in particular was also good to be as full of death as I was, so
yeah,
it worked.
Good amount of enemies.
yeah. However, if I had a nickel for every time we get to the end of a campaign and you're like, guys, if I could just make my deck less good at what it did, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice.
It's what happens when I get to play a monster killer, just straight because I just like don't care about clues and I just like I'm focused on one thing. It's assembling my board and killing the board, killing the board.
Yeah. But like you
So
you had a really similar change that you would make on the last investigator that you played, at least in a campaign that I was in, with the not the pianist, but maybe it was the pianist?
the soldier,
Isabella Lafrita.
The
Lafrata.
one that had 3,000 actions plus one.
yes, my mistake.
Yes.
You because we got to the end of that and you're like, yeah, if I was to do it again, I'd have less actions. And I was like, but sir, this is the point.
Yeah, I it, I definitely built the deck as we went to have less actions because when the point where I was like getting like a static 6 or 7 actions almost was like I don't know what to do with all of this. This is
uh,
first world. Like I don't know what to do with all my riches.
but yes, Tony's signature move would be to double a radiant smite on
Ah, yes,
bosses.
my best, the best thing ever.
Because oh no, take 3 blesses out of the bag and I radiant smite it and it didn't kill it. I guess I'll exhaust double, pay
Oh
$1
no!
and just do it again.
And then take a free hasted action to stab it again.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, me over here with my blessed blade being like, I
I could
guess I'll
help.
help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did good work. I couldn't kill enemies to save my life.
Tony Morgan was out here killing people in full armor with a switchblade.
Yeah.
It
Yep.
was wonderful.
There's a
I,
lot
I
of
had
lot of
I
dudes
had
in
a good
armor.
time. I had a good time.
I guess I should mention to people this campaign, at least the way we played through it, we had a lot of XP. We had at least 50 when we
Now,
were
to be
done.
fair, I just want to be fair. It's because of a certain way we played through it. One scenario got us a lot of XP.
But we were pretty high on XP even before that, like our
True,
pacing.
but we did walk out of that scenario with like 12 XP, 12 to 13 XP apiece.
That is fair, and we'll get to that.
I mean, also, just generally speaking, we play on standard difficulty, right?
Yep.
It's true.
And our mentality, at least what I've gleaned, has very much been let's try and do everything.
Get the
Yeah.
XP. Get
Like
as much XP as we can.
yeah, just our play style and difficulty is going to put us on the higher end of that curve,
It's true.
like across all campaigns.
Yeah. We are very much so a complete as much as we can, find as much as we can type people.
Yeah, and that like I say that in the sense that like if the time pressures and difficulty was was higher, like if we chose to really challenge ourselves, I'm sure we would end up with less overall experience because
Oh,
we'd
for
be
sure.
forced to make tough choices.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So keywords used in this campaign. So we're gonna start getting into spoilers. Feel free to, if you don't want to listen to them, drop out at any point. Uses the alert keyword, it uses the patrol keyword, and it uses the haunted keyword. Happy to see that one used as always.
Spooky dooky.
So, avoiding comment I could make.
That was a trap. That was such a trap.
You have to understand the willpower that I had to not
You
say.
you had full like agency, like free will exists. You could have just not mentioned it at all, but you had to give yourself that little pat on the back, like, hey, I didn't say anything, and now here we are.
So the first scenario is the Cave of Fruit Trees, where we were trying to find
A fly swatter.
Buckley. We were trying to find Oliver Buckley. He was searching for information on Avalon, and we got caught in this weird mystical cave system where we had to go exploring through the cave deck, and then eventually we found the Black Knight in Avalon? Question mark. I thought it was a good introduction to the themes and mechanics of the campaign.
It introduced us to our biggest pain in the butt.
I do not remember the scenario. It was in fact 5,000 years ago that we played it. So
Yeah.
84 years.
It definitely introduced us to. It was a good introduction to the Black Knight and some of the themes that we'd be running around.
Yep.
For sure, yeah.
It had fairies in it.
But not the fairy.
Not the fairy.
No, not the fairy, but it definitely introduced a running joke where I punched some fairies into the chin for money.
This is true. We got the ending where Oliver Buckley saw Avalon, which is
Whatever that
relevant.
meant at the time.
Whatever that meant at the time. And then we met Sir Arthur Bottomley, where we got to ask him.
Can't help it. I chuckle at that name every single time. That has nothing to do with it. It's just a silly name.
Where we got to ask him one of 4 questions. We could ask him on King Arthur, on Morgan Le Fay, Black Knight, or on Merlin. We decided to ask about the Black Knight, which got us information. We learned of the Black Knight's supernatural origin, whatever the heck that meant. Oh, I forgot to mention, at the end of the first scenario, we made friends with Morgan Le Fay. So we had the choice of Morgan Le Fay, King's Protector, or Morgan Le Fay, King's Bane. And we decided to pick up Morgan Le Fay, King's Protector, and that went into Sister Mary's deck. Just, noting the relevancy. And so after we meet with Sir Arthur, he gets kidnapped, which leads us to Scenario 2, London Calling, where we're running around fighting the Fellowship of the Knights of the Round Table and the Metropolitan Police.
But mostly the police.
There's a heavy police presence in this scenario.
I'm gonna have nightmares about. Remember that the investigators have caused trouble with the police.
Yeah. And there is a police enemy that we definitely killed. And by we, I mean Nick definitely
I was
killed.
ordained by the church and allowed to do what I did.
I think you don't understand the authority of a nun, my friend. Like, we really do need to talk about
You're right. Tony Morgan does not understand.
Yeah.
But he is maybe compensating for how badly he beat up that man.
Listen, I'm glad that you killed the knights that were wailing on Chad and I, but I must say, I don't have the authority to say that what you're doing is okay.
But yeah, Inspector Harris is a unique police traded enemy that definitely got beaten up. And then when you beat him up, everyone gets in trouble with the police. So, fair warning.
It was
But
worth VP.
he was worth VP, and we just
Had to
have to
do it.
pay off the police to stop being in trouble with them.
Someone else would have gotten it wrong.
Like real life.
The the thing is, we missed something here that like
Pat
we
was
we
correct.
advanced perhaps too early.
I'm sorry, what was that? I don't hear that very often. Can you say
I
it
said
as I'm a
Pat was
little?
correct. He had voiced
Oh,
his concern about
Pat was right.
maybe
that's gonna
advancing too
carry me
quickly.
through October. Oh,
And then when we advanced, he was immediately proven correct, and I was full of regret.
Yeah, so there's an objective that you can do before the you can basically advance pretty early, but there's an objective that will be removed if you don't advance, if you don't do it before you advance. So
but it wasn't
whatever that,
overtly advertised that would be removed if you didn't do it.
No,
yeah,
but
it
Like
wasn't.
in your
apparently
guys'
the signals were
defense.
there that you picked up on something. So
Yeah, I'm prescient.
yeah, that's all it was.
And maybe that's where you get Excalibur. We don't know. It would make sense that's where you get Excalibur. But the interesting thing is we otherwise I think did pretty well on this scenario, running around not trying to get in too much trouble with the police. But we noted in our campaign log that the Order achieved their objective, but we did end up rescuing Sir Arthur from being kidnapped. So, take that.
We specifically beat the police to rescuing him.
Yes, there was a race between us and the police in rescuing him. But otherwise, that seemed to go pretty okay. Investigators injured Inspector Harris in London. Yep. And then we find ourselves. Sorry, go ahead.
Said that poor man, poor Inspector Harris.
We may or may not have beaten him up 3 times.
He was 3 weeks away from retirement.
Now
And a
he's
couple
on
of
leave.
American jabronis.
You know, stiff upper lip and all that.
He should be more worried about his knees at this point.
Scenario 3, Lac Diane, where we're in search of the Lady of the Lake.
Yes.
This is
the best scenario ever penned.
As we've said, it's the best scenario ever penned, where we're going around trying to keep up with Marigold, who is still written in our campaign guide as
She is still
Marigold
very
is very cute. Yep.
Etched for eternity into that campaign log.
The thing that really highlights that scenario in my memory is going through the achievements at the end, and the one being Union Buster, prevent Marigold from taking her mandatory work break.
The mandatory work break being the rock or the tree she sometimes takes a nap under.
Right, yeah. It's just so good. The writing really shone in that scenario for sure.
Yeah, I still have to say the creator of this must have had the best time of their life writing this particular scenario, because it shows.
Now there's Mysterious Rock. I'm flipping through the.
It's also just a very clever scenario, with various different places becoming interesting and drawing Marigold's attention away from maybe what we're trying to do.
Was it, guys, true or false? That was Manic Pixie Dream Girl, literally the scenario.
I would agree with you, and maybe
much.
the invention of capitalism.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. No. Actually, I think Nick makes a valid point. We can trace it all back to there.
She did start the Marigold River, so.
The river. I don't think
nothing ever came of that.
No. Nothing came of it.
We really deliberated about taking her to the river, and nothing happened.
Hey, I tried to see if I could spawn both a wolf and a bee at the forest to see if something would happen.
We did some silly things in this scenario, but it is a lot of fun running through it and trying to keep her on track with all the flavor text around. There is I can say from the cards that have been set aside as part of the opening of the scenario, it can go really bad. Something can happen that makes everything go from like, oh, chipper and happy to, oh dear God, everything's terrible and dying. I don't know what that looks like mechanically, but on my cursory perusal of the cards sleeving them, oh boy, howdy, that can go real bad looking. But
Before and after the atom bomb.
yes, the scenario as mentioned before, this scenario, well, as mentioned before, generally there are some scenarios that have kind of vague advancements. This is a scenario that has a vague advancement where it's like you need to put tokens around, ritual tokens around to like make sure the ritual works. It doesn't tell you how many you need. It doesn't tell you if it's better to put them in a bunch of places or all in one place. I am happy to say that there are advantages to doing it having them spread out, and there are advantages to them being stacked up. So, however you end up doing it, it does reward you in interesting ways either way. There's no, in my opinion, correct answer. But once you
Well, the
have
correct
played it,
answer is
you
how
do
we did
know.
it, because we did very well.
Yeah, yeah. We mostly spread them out. Um, but we do now know the number that you need as like kind of like the break point of how many tokens you need on the table. Um, which is good to know. But you could advance earlier at a risk if that's what you wanted.
It's true.
But here we made friends with the Lady of the Lake, who went into Pat's deck.
I got all the NPCs. Mostly because they all had to do with specific symbols being revealed, and I was
Yeah.
drawing a lot of symbols.
Yeah, the only one that I think that didn't go to you went to Chad, because it gave plus book.
Yeah, Sir Arthur Bottomley went into my deck because he gave +1 intellect and generated resources when tablets were revealed anywhere.
And Morgan
So,
Le Fay from the previous one that Chad had mentioned, she gave extra will. So
oh yeah, which is
she
great
went
for
into my
you.
deck.
Also, there's a big focus on tablets in the campaign.
Yes. So, if we're prepared to move on from Marigold and her greatest treasure,
I'll never let go, Jack.
I mean, I would talk more about it, but I would rather people experience it, especially if it's going
Yeah,
into the
the
library.
less we say, I think the better. Like, it's
yeah,
fun. Yeah, like
I,
it's fun.
I,
It's funny.
I'm excited to have that in the library. Are there standalone rules for it? There are not standalone rules for it, so I'll have to.
Shouldn't be too hard.
It won't be too hard, but sometimes the fan made stuff doesn't have standalone rules. So my usual mo is figure out kind of like a reasonable approximation, and then poke the creator and be like, "Hey, what do you think about this? Anything that I'm not accounting for? Anything you'd want changed?" Um, they're pretty nice. No one's been upset with me when I've done that. Um, so then we hit
Challenge
the
accepted.
the interlude to A Matter of Life and Death. So we had to decide whether we wanted to prioritize the circumstances of Arthur's life or prioritize the circumstances of Arthur's death. With the previous note of if you have the name, if you share the name, you share the role, and if you share the role, you share the fate. We decided to prioritize the circumstances of Arthur's death, which sent us to scenario 4B, the Queen of Air and Darkness. So this is where we went across the ferry to the Orkney Isles, and we interacted with King Lot.
Well, we had a weird time shenanigan thing happen. We didn't start interacting with King Law, we were just there.
Yeah, we were just there kind of poking around, and then eventually we found ourselves in like a time loop's not the right, but like a time jump of like, oh, the Black Knight is like attacking the castle, and King Lot is in the castle, and how are you going to interact with it? Are you going to interact with it at all? Here's the knight Pellinor. Do you want to do something with him? It was
According to our campaign log, we wanted to kill him.
yes. King Lot fell in battle. is the resolution we had from this. But there were definitely other paths that we saw that you could take, depending on what you wanted.
Yep.
This
I
is
mean,
the
you could have just
first.
left.
You could have just left. We could have. This is the first scenario that like had the kind of juxtaposition of like here's Act 1 where you're kind of doing normal Arkham stuff, and then here's Act 2 or here's like the midpoint shift where like a whole bunch of things spawn in. It's like, okay, swap out all of these locations with the different ones. You guys all get teleported back to the start. Put King Lot into play. Put the Black Knight into play. Spawn these knights into play. There's now a war going on. I'm just like, hold up, where did all this come from? So just like took an extra 5-10 minutes of us just like putting it out and reading it and kind of assessing the board state.
Yeah, it kind of was like a new scenario has spawned.
Yeah, because
And
like
also, oh, go ahead.
all I was going to say is it especially felt like a new scenario just spawned because we got to the end of like the locations and then it respawned all of us back to start basically.
Mhm.
But go ahead, Pat.
Well, I was just kind of reflecting on the fact that I believe this was the first one we had played after our in real life time jump.
Yeah, it
And
was.
so I just remember particularly feeling lost, like just in general as to where we were in the broader campaign story, and that was only magnified by the kind of the mid scenario reset that occurred with the timey-wimey shenanigans.
It's true.
Yeah. We did. This is important. I thought this was in the next scenario, but it's not. It's here.
Does it mean
We did.
something?
It does. This means something. This is important. This is where we did a special thing with Morgause. For better or worse, you have changed your legend outside of the original tales. Add 1 tablet token to the chaos bag for the remainder of the campaign. In your campaign
Right.
log, record that the investigators have disturbed the flow of the legend.
Yeah, because I killed the shit out of Morgause.
And
Whoopsies.
this is where we got the Curse of Morgause weakness. We ended up getting like 2
Got a lot of
extra
curses.
weaknesses
Yeah,
in our deck.
got a lot of weaknesses.
Each investigator earns 1 bonus experience as they gain insight into Arthurian legend. Their own version, at least.
From my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
So, so yeah, this was I like the scenario. It was interesting once I kind of got used to like the shift of it. This was I liked the scenario. We didn't run into a single pigeon though. 3
Better
players
that
didn't
way.
run into a single pigeon.
It was better that way.
It was better that way. The pigeons, upon looking at them after the fact, was like, this has been annoying. But there is an achievement for like having a bunch of pigeons on you. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Oh yeah, Playboy Tesla reach a resolution on the Queen of Air and Darkness while engaged with 3 pigeons. Okay, so once we were done with scenario 4B, the Queen of Air and Darkness, we went to scenario 5, Prophete Merlinii. Language. This was the scenario where we were at the British Empire exhibition.
This is the one where he beat the shit out of Merlin.
This is the one where we beat the shit out of Merlin. So this
And
is
Inspector
one.
Harris again.
And Inspector Harris. This
He
is
just
true.
happened to be there this time. He was incidental. This was definitely like, again? All
Did not
right.
have to beat him up again. He was even suffering an injury from the last time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Time to break his other knee, I guess.
Yeah.
So we
Could've known
didn't
better.
mess up this scenario. Okay.
What?
This is
No,
where
don't
there
you
were
remember?
there were 2 agendas. And it didn't tell me to put the second agenda into play as part of setup. So I didn't. I'm like, oh, the second agenda will come into play eventually. And then there was a point after we like when we hit the mid mission like big shift that that the scenario does, then it was like, oh no, we should have had that in play the entire time. So we approximated it as best we could of how the first how the Agenda 1C would have acted and where it would be roughly. Hopefully it didn't. I think we approximated it quite well. We were trying to be very fair about how it worked and how it would have done. But to be totally fair, as we're talking about this, we did screw it up on our blind run. So.
Oh, we were set up for failure on that one.
Yeah. So the main objective in the first part is, we just need to figure out what the Fellowship of the Knights of the Round Table are up to. But
Nope,
we're
you
like,
missed it.
there's
Missed it.
Fellowship of the Order of the Knights of the Round Table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the
Ding,
order
ding,
of
ding, ding.
the Order of the Fellowship of the Knights of the Round Table.
Oh crap! I got it wrong. Dung,
No,
dung, dung, dung.
yeah. It's got to. You got to remember, it's super pretentious.
But they've got a booth there that you can go to. But there's all these like other objectives that are around. But as soon as you go to the Order's booth, basically, you advance. So we're like, okay, how about we do absolutely everything that we possibly can that isn't that? Because we've already got burned on scenario 2 for advancing too quickly, and scenario 3
Oh, we
when
also
we
did
were
get a hint. We got a hint.
we also it did hint like, hey, maybe go do some of these.
Oh no, we
When
ran
you
into
talk,
we ran into Arkham's favorite fortune teller. She like kind of give us some strong hints as to like the benchmarks we wanted to hit.
yeah, which I did appreciate, both thematically and mechanically. So we did everything that wasn't the main objective.
We did.
And it was fun. I enjoyed that. Then
Took some
when we,
finagling.
I'm sorry.
I said it took some finagling.
Yeah, it took some finagling. It was interesting. The various objectives that were there. I even had to tussle. Like I, as Daisy, was like having to tussle with the Black Knight a bit, which was fine. Just to get some of the objectives done. We were able, between the three of us, we actually, it wasn't just like, oh, one person's doing all these. No, like we assessed who would be the best in each instance to make this all work. And I thought the scenario did a really good job of like being flexible for a lot of different play styles to address the random missions being assigned to the locations, and each location and mission kind of interacting in their own ways. I thought that was quite good.
Yeah, that particular scenario, it can be it can be extremely variable, and because of that, I think it will always be a fun time to kind of work through the puzzle of it.
This, if it weren't for Marigold, this actually might be the top content. This would be the second place, in my opinion, for scenario to extract.
That's probably fair.
But no, so we did all the things, tussled with the Black Knight as we could, and then we spawned Merlin. And then I remember this being between us figuring out that we'd screwed up, and then also all the cards that were just added, and the new story cards and the objectives. It was like a 15-20 minute like turnover from like we advanced to like actually start playing again after processing all the information.
We also had a bunch of extra checks that both didn't
Yeah.
allow us things, and some did. So it was just a lot of checking the campaign log.
Yeah, there's a scenario interlude, Merlin's goals, which I'm not going to read, but it goes up to Merlin's goal 23, if that gives you a sense of
Yeah, there was a
what
lot.
the
a big
number
one.
of things that can happen. So yeah, we debated a couple of options amongst the things. We ended up just deciding to beat up Merlin.
Worked out pretty well.
I know that sounds not very exciting, but we just like, yeah, just beat him up.
Yeah.
He's a bad guy. Okay.
It was just the most. It was just the straightest route to the answer that we wanted.
Yeah. Not that
He
the
was
other
doing he
objectives
was
were.
doing something nefarious that he wouldn't like. We didn't really know about. Like we can't
Yeah.
let that go. We're Arkham investigators. Some weirdo doing rituals. We're not going to let that go off without getting involved.
Yeah.
Especially around a bunch of civilians like that. That's just something shady's happening
It's
there.
downright irresponsible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
There
had to put him in his
were.
place.
There were some other objectives. There were some. I'm trying to see if I can get the story cards real quick. Here we go. So, like, there are ways that we can interact with things and do other objectives, but it was just like, yeah, no, let's just beat them up because that just gets us from point A to point B faster than some of the more convoluted routes that we could have taken. So, anything else on the Great Exhibition? What is the scenario called? Prophetae Merlinian. Merlini.
Interesting to see that with different choices that we had made throughout the campaign. I'd be very curious to see what else could pop up in that particular scenario.
Yeah, if we had asked about Merlin, this would have, I imagine this would have been quite different.
I also imagine if we had not let the Order accomplish their objective, it would also have been quite different.
Also true. So, there, as I said, there was scenario 4B that we did, and there's scenario 4A. So you will do one of the fours, then you will do 5, and then you'll go back into the other 4. So the other one is scenario 4A, a most magnificent court, where we are in an open field and find visions of Camelot and start exploring Camelot as it appears in this giant open field. Where?
Turns out Camelot's just a big long line.
Yeah, I was about to say, where's the best place to start with this? So, in the first part of this mission, all you're doing is putting the next location in from a random deck, and it just comes into play in a straight line. Everything's connected to the next location in line, so it is just a big old straight line. And there's a point where you put five locations into play, and then you basically can disrupt the order of things and just put the throne room in play. And we're like, okay, so why should we put the throne room in right now? What if we just tried to maximize all of the locations in play? Because we didn't have a good read on one versus the other, but it's like, yeah, we seem to have time. That's fine.
Because we
And
wanted
so,
to explore as much as possible.
yeah, we wanted to explore as much as possible. There's like, it seems like we've got enough time, so let's go ahead and just do that. And at one point, Nick draws his weakness of Tony's Quarry, which goes all the way back to the start of the line.
Hmm.
That's fine. It showed up at a time where it was the witching hour, so it didn't matter. So we just left it there.
Also, it's like
This'll be
six,
relevant.
7 locations away. It was never going to be worth going back to it.
Yeah.
Remember, straight line, and we've gone far away from the starting point.
Yes. So we end up with the maximum length possible, which I want to say is like 12 locations.
Yeah, it's like
That is pretty long.
yeah, it's like 11. It's like 11 or 12, including the throne room.
Yeah. And then I draw my weakness. It's a basic weakness that forces me to move back one space towards the enemy that it's attached to, and because the only enemy that was available was Tony's Quarry, it attached to Tony's Quarry. So every round at the end of my turn, I was going to get pulled back one space towards Tony's Quarry, and for us to advance, everybody needed to be in the throne room at the start of the investigation phase. So now there's a problem. This is the aforementioned, our weaknesses didn't mesh well with the stated objective. So Nick sprints all the way back to the beginning,
Thank you, Haste.
kills his quarry, and then sprints all the way back to the end of the line. This took like 5 rounds. 6 rounds? It took a long time.
It was forever.
But we did it. The timer on this scenario is that every time that the agenda advances, you put a horror on the next leftmost location. And if everything has a horror on it, that means that like the guards have locked everything down effectively. So we were trying not to run into that as being a huge issue. But Nick killed the thing, saved the scenario. Again, thank you. And
So it had to be done, man.
Yep, had to be done. And we advance. And so what happens when you advance is you take all of the Knights of the Round Table set, shuffle them up, and put a random one at every single location other than the first one and the throne room. Which means because we have
there was also one at the first location. It was just a specific one that had to go there.
yeah, Pelennor came back because we didn't beat him up in the other scenario. And it's just like, okay. And so now there's this whole we need to fight to get out, basically, through all of these knights in a lined succession of them attacking us. There's a rule where there can only be one per location, effectively. So it's like, okay, if I'm tussling with Lancelot, for example, at location A, none of the other knights can come in here, which is appreciated.
Lancelot was
but
not
also,
there.
Yeah,
Correct.
I was just pulling a random knight off the top of my head.
Yeah, you just chose
Of
the one
all the nights, you chose
Yeah.
the single one that was there. Interesting.
Hey, which is the one that I actually beat up?
I don't know.
Oh,
There were like
Bedivere?
8,000 of them.
Probably
It
Bedivere, I
started,
think.
Bedivere. It started with a B. The only reason I was able to beat him up is because he took a damage every time he dealt a horror to somebody. So I just took 6 horror from his attacks, and he killed himself. that was fun. But yeah, we ended up, and there's a new clock that's introduced, which is the Black Knight, who doesn't have his movement restricted like we were just talking about. If he ever gets to the throne room, we lose.
Something
we
happened.
or something would happen where he gets to Guinevere, and that's bad. So we fought our way out, and by we I mean mostly you two.
We did carve a bloody path, yeah.
In the halls of Camelot. It was not pretty.
It was worth it.
Let's see. In that scenario alone, we killed Pelennor, Sir Gawain, Sir Dagonet, Sir Aglavale, Sir Percival, Sir Urien, Sir Hector, Sir Galahad, Sir Bedivere, Sir Bors, and Sir Owain. All in that scenario.
And Pelennor.
Yes. Did I not say Pelennor? Pelennor as well.
Yeah, I don't remember.
There's only one knight, because of the number of locations that were in play, that did not get used.
and also slain.
Yes.
It was not no other way to do it.
So what did we think of a most magnificent court?
I mean, outside of the having to run back and like solve a problem that like was kind of our own doing, it was actually a pretty straightforward scenario.
Mm-hmm.
It also had some weird possible routes that it could have gone that I'm very curious to know how they happen.
Yeah. There's, now that we've played through it, there is definitely, like, we got a whole bunch of XP from murdering a bunch of stuff. This is the scenario that we got a whole bunch of XP from murdering a bunch of stuff.
Technically, the murder was optional. Because
Yes.
like you could just exhaust them or do other. You had some extra shenanigans that you could do to like work it out, but well, our characters, let's just say, weren't equipped for that sort of maneuvering, so killing them was just easier.
Yeah, and if more than 5 names were added to Knights Slain, each investigator takes a mental trauma, which we did.
Yeah, we hit that 5.
But no, we made it. We made it out. There are definitely reasons why you wouldn't want to do what we did, which was, spawn a whole bunch of people. There are reasons why you might not want to do that later in the campaign that we have since learned about.
There's that. The other main reason is that it gives you a lot more time as well, because the Black Knight starts out a lot farther away from the throne room.
Yeah, and it also gives you more time with the horror on locations.
That's true. That also happens.
So, Yeah, liked this one. Interested to see what it would look like earlier in the camp. Yeah, there's also what happens if the scenarios 4A and 4B seem to have some decent variance between if you played them earlier versus later.
Mhm.
Important to note. All right, that gets us to Interlude 3, The Black Knight. So, because we have learnt of the Black Knight's supernatural origin, we go to Black Knight 2, where we basically determine that what's the line here? Of the various possibilities discussed, was the one that struck a chord with you was that the knight was summoned from another dimension and act not wholly unfamiliar to you. Those who research such things back in Arkham refer to such beings beyond comprehension as ancient ones. You find ironic amusement that discovering such a threat is a boon to you for once. While most would never consider fighting an eldritch entity head on, the fact remains that you can fight it, and such a revelation is an improvement over your previous circumstances. An interesting conclusion, Morgan muses, her expression still unchanged, certainly one unique to you. So, it the Black Knight can be apparently like 5 different things, as I briefly mentioned. We got the one where he's an ancient one of some sort, some eldritch being. Did you guys like that as an answer to the Black Knight of who he is?
I think it's kind of it's definitely a catch-all, and I think it was just one of the ways. I think there's definitely probably some more flavorful ways that it would have gone.
I would have liked if it was more well explored. It was kind of offered up as an answer and then left at that. Be like, oh, it's an
Yeah.
ancient one. Oh, okay. So why is it here? What does it want? What's the deal with that? Like,
The yeah. The interesting thing is the only check for us getting this is that when we met Sir Arthur at the very beginning of scenario 2, we asked him about the Black Knight and learned of the Black Knight's supernatural origins. So if we had not done that, then we must have somehow gotten into one of these other pots.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing, right? It's like, so that was the result of our choice from the very beginning.
Yep.
well, I wonder if like if not learning about the supernatural origins, if instead the question of the Black Knight is more about the identity, right? Which is very Arthurian.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which is to say, like maybe the different things that could be pursued is rather than the nature of the Black Knight, we would be more interested in pursuing the identity of the Black Knight. And
Right.
so it would be
Sure.
like, oh, in this run, it's actually so and such. Whereas like the path that we took in asking the Black Knight question actually like gave us the insight that it was an ancient one,
Hmm.
whose identity perhaps molds based on who's telling and changing the story.
Right. Which, I, ironically, is probably a better question to ask on like subsequent runs.
Right, right.
Yeah. So just for reference, the other checks are the Black Knight laid the lady low once more, which I would believe to be from a most magnificent court letting it get to the end. The Black Knight is the Queen's champion.
It actually might be from uh Loch Diane.
Oh, the lady might be referring to Lady of the Lake.
Yeah.
That's fair. Black Knight is the Queen's champion. If the Black Knight fought against Arthur's forces and the Black Knight fought against King Lot's forces, okay, the Black Knight is nothing more than a villain of your own creation.
I wonder how you get that one.
Um,
I wonder if that's the catch-all if you don't do any of the
that is the
others.
catch-all.
Okay.
All the other ones have an if to them. That is a catch-all one.
Oh,
So,
that's rough, buddy. So
so
it
we
was
did
my
get
fault
we
the whole
did get
time.
a not catch-all option there for what it's worth.
Yay!
Yeah, I was kind of like pushing on what Nick was saying, that like I think that the option we got was probably like piercing the veil of the myth into
Yeah.
like we like went too deep too quick,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
No,
I
that
do
that makes
understand.
sense. We, as the language kind of implies, it's just like, oh yeah, this is just an eldritch being, so that's like we don't necessarily care about a lot of the specifics once we've kind of put it in that pot mentally.
Hmm.
So then we play scenario 6, the ill-made knight, which has different flavors depending on which version of the knight that you get. It also has different flavors of Merlin depending on what's been happening with Merlin's plotline. If I'm being honest, this scenario, the more I thought about it, is more of a conclusion to what's been going on for the previous scenarios than the finale is.
I don't disagree with that, but the finale is the finale of all of our of all the Arthurian stuff that's been going on.
Yes. I'm sorry, I did not mean that to imply like I'm like undercutting the finale, but like for a lot of the finale does call on things that have happened prior, but like of the more immediate threads that you've been kind of tangling with the past couple of scenarios, this is where a lot of them like where Merlin's plot comes to an end. This is where the Black Knight plot comes to the end.
I
As
mean,
it sets up for the finale.
doesn't the scenario open where it's like you go into the streets and there are police and knights and the order all fighting? It's
Yeah.
Yes.
chaos. Do
Yep.
something.
Yes, that is how the scenario starts.
Like that, I don't know. Like it took me a minute to even just, it was only a few days ago that we played this. And it took me, granted, sleep deprivation's involved. It took me a minute to remember what even this scenario was. I don't feel like it resolved anything. Like, maybe I'm just misremembering, but like I don't remember narratively anything impactful happening here. I just remember like debating whether or not we were going to kill Merlin.
Yeah, like
Yes.
it was the end to the Black Knight. That's the real conclusion.
But like
And the
this is where I feel like the narrative, kind of like some of the holes come through. Is like, what we didn't, did we care about the Black Knight?
It's mostly
Like
that it's just been harassing us the whole
its
campaign.
antagonism is not well defined, and I think part of that maybe stems from the idea that like in multiple playthroughs the identity of the Black Knight could be up into question.
Yeah, because the Black
So,
Knight's objectives were not always to like harass us. Like so it would
and they
like
weren't always like unilaterally like oriented, right? It did
right.
not feel like the Black Knight was always trying to accomplish a very specific thing. Like
no.
sometimes he was like doing one thing and sometimes he was doing another thing, and it was just
Mm.
kind of like, why are you here besides being a threat, right? Like,
Sometimes he was directly after us. Sometimes he was directly after a story-specific character. Sometimes we could interact with him. Sometimes we couldn't. Like,
Most of the time we couldn't.
yeah. But like, depending on what happened with Merlin before, we disrupted his ritual. So like, there were like 4 different versions of Merlin we could have interacted with. I want to say. Um. So like, because we interrupted the ritual, I think Merlin was a little bit of, and because we didn't pursue Merlin's like we didn't question about Merlin and learn a lot about him. I think he played a lesser role in this scenario than he could have. Um, but we also made the choice to like let him cook for a little bit while figuring out like because there's a point where it's like, yeah, you can pursue your main objective or you can go bother with Merlin or whatnot, and we're just like,
or you can do
okay.
nothing.
Or you can do nothing and let this counter go up. And we're like, so the counter is like Merlin doing something? Maybe Merlin's doing something to the Black Knight? At least for our variant of the scenario, it didn't really do anything. And we did not beat up Merlin here, for whatever that's worth.
You were
But
hungry for his blood. You wanted to punch that wizard in the jaw.
That's
yeah,
true.
we had a discussion about whether or not we wanted to kill Merlin or not, and I, the person who could do the absolute least to him, was like, I don't trust this guy, beat him up. And you guys were like,
Nick and I had our bloodthirst sated. Like you
That's
were the
true.
one that was like, I crave death.
This is
And
also
like
the
both of
third
you were
time
just
I got to beat up
sharpening your
Inspector
blades, like,
Harris.
no, we should let him cook for a minute. And I'm like, okay. But we let him live.
And this is also the third time I got to beat up Inspector Harris. He showed up at
It
here.
was not in a great way after the first 2 times.
No,
How many
he was
times
not.
do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
That poor guy.
But we ended up defeating the Black Knight. And finally laying that to rest.
But that didn't feel climactic to me. I don't recall exactly what happened in the narrative, but like I don't necessarily. I'm going to push back a little on the idea that like this scenario felt like more of a tie-in of everything. It just felt like a free-for-all.
I'm trying to find. It was a bit of a free for all. Where's that page? There's that page. So there was scenario interlude behind the scenes. This is where Merlin spawns in, and then nope, that's not what I'm looking for. With the Black Knight vanquished, the rest of the knights soon disappear, leaving only confused police and cultists as the thin blue line begins to round up the members of the Order of the Fellowship of the Knights of the Round Table. You take this opportunity to slip away, heading back towards the mountains where it all began, towards the grove, towards Avalon. That is the resolution that we got for that scenario. So, simple. It's just, I guess my point is like, the finale checks about certain things that happen, but like the most direct results of what we mucked around in for the previous scenarios are in this scenario more so than the finale.
Yeah, I mean, I won't disagree with the campaign log checks, but the more like as we've gone through and rehashed the narrative, the overarching narrative of the campaign, the more I'm really realizing that this felt more like a fever dream or a set of fever dreams than a coherent narrative.
Okay.
And and
You're not entirely wrong.
and don't get me wrong, like I enjoyed playing it, but like looking at it and kind of doing this post mortem or this kind of like um retrospective, like what the heck was the story? Like I can tell you what we were doing in Night of Vespers. I
Yeah.
really couldn't tell you what the heck was going on in this.
We
I could
got
tell you how
pulled
it ended.
we got pulled into, so we were after Oliver Buckley, and then we got roped into this
Well, like,
conflict of the
to be more
roles and the
specific.
fates.
To be a little more specific, we were on a shared expedition with Oxford.
Yes.
We were just Americans, and our contact was Oliver Buckley. We went out to the cave to meet up with him to find him because his part of the expedition was lost because he had like found something regarding what he thought was King Arthur's resting place in the caves near Tintagel. And that's where the scenario 1 begins, and then we get it mixed into all of the things that are going on. And we just
Right,
get
but
caught in all these Arthurian myth things. And then
right.
we're following the quote unquote story of Arthur as we get back then to Tintagel.
My understanding is we have to go through the motions of the legends to get to the end result
But
where
I
we
do
can actually
understand
go
what you're talking about because we didn't really do that.
And also it wasn't, I don't know, I haven't brushed up on my Arthurian myth, right? So an individual scenario, though I could point to things within the larger legendarium that would be like, oh yeah, this is kind of like what this is going like what happened in this story. Like the narrative itself wasn't couched. I didn't think it was couched in like that legend.
Yeah,
Like
at
it
least
was
not the
just kind of
narrative that
go
we were
here,
given.
do this.
Like there might have been certain choices that maybe added some extra like flavor that would get us there, but like at least what we experienced that wasn't quite there.
Well, I mean, like I'm just thinking about like the scenario with King Lot's castle, right?
Right.
Like what? Huh?
Yeah, I don't
Like
know enough about that.
who? That's what I like. That's what I'm saying though. Like if it was just going to be a let's go through and like follow the legend, I can't help but feel like some structure around like what the legend is that couched each individual scenario and tied them together like beads on a string would have served the overarching narrative rather than being like playing the greatest hits of like Arthurian myth.
Yeah.
So in the, I, I see your point. I'm not disagreeing with you. There is in the setup for Queen of Air of Darkness with King Lot. Your off-season trip was inspired by the man that most would consider the primary antagonist of Arthurian legend, the king's ultimate downfall, Mordred, son of the Queen of Orkney. Morgau, some say that he's the bastard son of Arthur, while others say he's the legitimate son of the Arcadian King Lot. With this in mind, you have set out to his parents' ancestral island home to see what extra information you can gather. But like, I, I,
But we
I
didn't like
see
walk away
you.
with information on Mordred.
No, we didn't really walk away with information on Origin, but like looking for the lake. It's just like we're just kind of in this forest, and then suddenly we find a ferry. We're on this
Says she can
island,
help
and
us
then
get to the lake.
yeah, and then we find we're on this island, and then just suddenly we're in the middle of this Arthurian thing. We were going to that field, and the castle just kind of springs up. I yeah, there's. I wish there was more connective tissue.
And like again, this is only something that I'm like coming to now, like talking
Yeah.
about the whole thing. Whereas like moment to moment or session to session of like playing the scenarios, this wasn't bothersome in any capacity. It's like now just thinking about it, I'm like, I don't really feel like I knew what was going on, like broadly,
Yeah.
especially given the ending, but
Yeah.
it's a different conversation.
Anything else on this, or do you want to move to that ending?
Let's go. Let's onward to Avalon.
Scenario 7, the once and future king. Um, okay, so this scenario does the thing where it throws a lot at you, it does that at the very beginning.
Oh yeah.
um,
Yeah, it does that.
there are, so I wish, so, okay. There are 4 battlefield locations. There is like a perch hidden cove that you're in, and then there are 2 locations on either side of this like nest of 4 battlefield locations, which are kind of like the staging grounds and then like the main camps for the 2 sides of Arthur and Mordred. Okay, that's the basics of the map. Okay, and on the battlefields are spawned a whole bunch of dudes, and then depending on different checks that were made, you get tokens put on those things, and then each location has an AFV and MFV value. An AFV is the Arthur fight value, which is the combined total fight value of all Arthur Forces cards and all of the damage tokens on those locations. And then there's the MFV, which is the Mordred's fight value, which is the combined value of all Mordred's units at that location, as well as any horror tokens on that location. There's a lot to start with, if I do say so myself. But the way that the scenario works is that there are 2 acts. We played with both to start with, because we learned that mistake. So there's 2 acts, sorry, 2 agendas, sorry. And one is for Arthur and one is for Mordred. Quick aside, love that the picture kind of goes
Do
between the
love the
2.
overlaid picture.
Yeah, the 2 overlaid picture. Do appreciate that. But Doom is not added to them during the Mythos phase. Doom is added to them based off of the battlefields. So if Arthur's fight value, AFE, is greater than Mordred's fight value, that battlefield will generate 1 Doom for Arthur's agenda, and vice versa for Mordred's. And so there's all of these units around, which for me felt quickly overwhelming, and I wasn't even the one dealing with them at all. um, that we were constantly like, we had dice in play to keep track of things because we were counting up like, oh, okay, well, this person adds this person adds this, and then this token adds here. But then there were berserker enemies who just get bonuses based off of, gets additional +1 for every unit that's there. Just so much text. Like, it was cool conceptually, it just felt like a lot. sorry.
Or definitely got busy.
Yeah. And so, I don't know. Then basically our objective was go pick a side and do something with that. And there wasn't a clear path towards doing something. And like, I don't feel like we necessarily missed out on like setup for this part of the scenario because the only thing that really checks past things just adds damage or horror tokens to the board. So like no matter how you got here, the setup for this scenario is kind of the same every time, so it appears. I don't know, I've been rambling for a minute. Do you guys have anything you want to add?
Are you
I
saying
mean,
you didn't really understand how to pick a side?
like it was pretty straightforward. We just had to pick
No,
a
no.
side.
No, I understand that it's big side, but I'm like, there was like the immediate Arkham instinct in me is that there are two sides. What's the third option?
Yeah, well,
Oh,
I guess
okay.
what I'm trying to say is that instinct is what caused you confusion because there wasn't one.
Yeah. Well, I
Like
quickly figured that. Yeah.
the setup of the scenario made the levers pretty clear, right? It was the AVF and MVF comparisons and how you chose to interact with that.
Yeah.
Whether it was like exhausting enemies by evading them or doing other shenanigans or just straight up killing the enemies you don't want to have on the battlefield.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, what did you guys think
That
of the first part of the scenario?
that scenario felt like I think in one of the final seasons of the Game of Thrones TV show, the Battle of the Bastards or something. I don't know, that horrible battle, like
Yeah.
Jon Snow is like being like frickin' like
Trampled on.
buried under
Yeah,
corpses. Like
Yep.
just a frickin' slog.
it was. The
Yeah.
the
And
requirement to get to like one of the side's camps and like pick a side, I feel like was, I don't know, maybe a little too much. I don't know. Like,
So you could only get clues from the center of the map with the battle
the
at the battlefield
battlefields.
locations.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm terrified of this scenario in single player because it's like, how are you supposed to manage all of the battlefields in single player and get clues
I,
and get
I don't
over
think you're
to?
supposed to. I think you're just going to see how the battles work out and do your best to pick your side because you don't need that many clues
Well, there
and
was also. Oh, go ahead.
like
Sorry.
no enemies slow you down. There's like two enemies, three or something like that
Yeah, like the
that slow
smugglers
players down. Like, but like
or
outside of
scavengers.
those, yeah, plunderers is what they were called. And like but like they don't really do much to slow you down. Like so like and you don't need that many clues. You go and do it, and then you have to clear the clues off on the location, and then you get to. That's how you pick your side. You're never gonna have enough clues. Once you go to a camp, you're stuck.
Yeah. So we ended up siding with Arthur, King of the Britons.
King of the Who?
Because it's just like, eh, yeah, it's the first time playing. Let's kind of go with like a neutral good path. We were debating if we wanted to go side with Mordred. There was flavor text on both sides that made us go like, maybe we shouldn't side with that person. But
Ultimately, I felt really bad that we killed every one of Arthur's knights.
oh yeah, we did kill so many of his knights. Sir Gawain never showed up. He could have showed up, but he didn't show up.
To be fair, I killed him first.
Too
Thinking
pure
of,
for this world.
I think it's the movie Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger. I always love the line of "You're funny, I'll kill you last," and then later on in the movie, remember how I said I'd kill you last? Yeah, yeah, you did. I lied. And throws him off the cliff. I'm just imagining that with Gawain. I lied. Okay. So once you pick a side, you have to go through and fight your way to killing. I assume killing the other one. I don't know what actually happens when you side with Mordred, but we had to go and kill Mordred. I'm assuming we'd have to go and kill Arthur, perhaps not in the exact same way, but yeah, that's my understanding.
Yeah. Also to set the scene, this battlefield is like a constantly evolving, like with time, like rewinding itself to continue the fighting forever and eternity until like we choose a side to end it.
Yep. Also, there was a lot of surge. Like,
Yeah, more surge
they're
than ever.
just, yeah, just like, uh, draw, draw a
Enemies had
card. It
surge.
surges. Draw a card. It's an enemy. It goes into play and gets you another enemy. It's just like, can I just draw like a card or two and like call it good, please?
Well, not only does the enemy go into play, it goes into play relative to the MFV and AFV of all battlefield locations. Like, there's just a lot of
Yeah.
like condition checking in the
Yep.
midst of all of that surge, which was challenging.
Yeah. It was a lot to keep up. Like dice, I highly recommend dice to keep up with that. So we sided with Arthur. Actually, before we move on to the second part of the second part of the scenario, is there anything else you guys want to talk about the battlefields and everything like that?
I just think that you mentioned the difficulties in solo. I thought that the staging grounds, not the actual encampments, but like the areas between the encampments and the battlefield locations, had an investigate option that let you exhaust the opposing enemies in a battlefield location
Yeah,
as a means of pulling a different lever that we just didn't interact with.
yeah. We had you
Sure.
focusing on getting clues, so you never had a time to interact with that because we had two of us like messing around with the battlefields themselves.
Yeah. Pat with his enchanted weapon, or his enchanted blessed blades.
Yep.
Yeah,
And me
that was
with
a
my
weird scenario for me because I was doing things effectively, but not in the way I normally did.
that's
Mm-hmm.
true.
Akimbo Bless Blades.
It was very much so like you had said, Pat. Uh, your, your decks were working no just fine until the finale, and then that's when your deck decides to stall.
Then things get weird, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, the Bless Bag go burr, but still.
So we get to the end of all of this, and it basically says, "Hey, go to resolution 5, unless you, unless Oliver Buckley saw Avalon and you disrupted the ritual, like what's the phrase?
The flow of the
Uh,
myth.
the flow of the myth." And we're like, we did those things randomly, and so we got the secret part? Question mark? Where the once and future king needed to be put sent off from the Grey Havens to the west, to use the
Wow.
Lord of the Rings metaphor. Um,
This was clumsy, but I'll allow it.
Yeah, I mean, we got there, but I mean,
yeah,
Tolkien took
the
his
the
idea for the
entire
Grey Havens based on probably Avalon and Elysium, which is what these
yes,
myths are normally based on.
the entire board gets wiped, and we just get 4 locations and this big massive enemy who has Excalibur if we didn't already find Excalibur, which we didn't. And then we have to get Excalibur from him, chuck it back into the lake, push him over to the boat, and beat him up.
Yeah, so we're enacting the final moments of Arthur's life.
All said
Yes.
and done, incredibly easy.
Surprisingly,
Compared, yeah. Yeah, we
uh,
had more than enough time to handle it. It was way less overhead than the first part of the scenario, much more manageable.
yeah.
What
Which
did you
kind of
guys?
made it feel like a mechanical anticlimax.
Part of it might have been because of how easy it tended to be for me to kill boss enemies in general. Like
I mean,
the hard part was normally getting to the
He
boss.
only had 12 health.
yeah,
And
like legitimately, like if we had neutered you, Nick, we what did we do it on like round 3? Like we had
yeah,
plenty of time. I
yeah,
didn't even help.
yeah. I
Like I didn't
know.
even help
It's not like
take
you
out
guys.
Arthur.
Yeah, it's not even like we. It's not like it would have taken that much longer.
Yeah, I thought it was a good thematic resolution. If it was,
Yes.
even if it was a little bit weak mechanically as a resolution.
The thing that would have intrigued me would be if we had somehow gotten Excalibur ahead of time and maybe already thrown it into the lake. Like
I
in like
think
scenario 3.
sure. I if that's possible. I know there was a way for us to quickly get Excalibur out if one of us already had it.
But there was also a check in scenario 3 for if we already had Excalibur, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just things like that. Like these are the things that like make me very intrigued to see what would be like to play through the campaign again. Just
Lots of little nooks and crannies.
yeah, lots of little twists and changes to explore.
Lots of little
So
rooks and grannies.
Okay.
so yeah, again, overall I had, good fun with this.
We sent
Happy to have played it.
Arthur
I'm
off to
excited to take
Avalon.
another look at it. Sorry, go ahead.
I said we sent Arthur off to Avalon. We did it.
We said Arthur to Avalon.
Beat him up, put him in a boat, and put him and made Morgan Le Fay take him off to Avalon.
Mm-hmm. Do myths have true endings? Help Arthur reach Avalon.
We did it, Patrick. We saved the city.
I mean, kind of.
Eh.
I mean, Tintago's kind of a mess, but
At least we
But
didn't have
when
to
isn't
see.
it? Am I right?
I know, right?
I love that the pub. If you did damage at the pub, it kicked you out. I'm sorry. I did really appreciate some. There's some lovely little
Honestly,
mechanical
best
flavor
forced
things
effect
like that.
I've ever run across. Just free movement actions for beating up an enemy. Sign me up.
Um, so yeah, I've gotten like all of my main thoughts out of this. Do you guys have any final thoughts?
Um,
Dial-up modem sound.
Overall, I think it was quite good. Um, the final scenario, unfortunately, I just feel like was maybe a little overcooked. Like there's a lot going on,
Yeah.
and it's very easy. And there's some things that are very easy to miss or mess up, especially because you don't know what's gonna happen when on your blind playthrough. So it's just I don't know. It feels maybe a little overbaked. It's neat and
Yeah,
it's very thematic with everything they're doing. Also, the just all the surging just was not beneficial.
yeah. I think we had discussed after wrapping up the campaign that we really liked, and I don't mean to speak out of turn, so you guys can correct me if I'm mischaracterizing your opinion, but we really liked what they were trying to do with the battle with Arthur and Mordred. Like thematically, that was really cool, and like it's clear what the intention was.
Mm-hmm.
If it in a world where such a design would be possible, it could afford a simplification.
Mm-hmm.
In some capacity, just a collapsing of all of the widgets being contributing to a calculation, maybe onto a single thing to keep track of, as opposed to all of the counters and dice. And don't get me wrong, like we love dice in this household, we stand dice, but like it was just a lot.
We do
I
love it
liked
complex.
I liked that there were different ways that you could mess with the AVF and MBF. I thought that was fun. As somebody that could do fighting, right? I could understand that if you didn't really have a hand on that ball, that it would be kind of you might feel a little impotent in that regard. Um, what else? I had another thought, but it's gone now. So oh well.
So it
Goodbye,
goes.
thought. Be gone,
Bye-bye.
thought. Said my
Bye-bye.
brain cell to the other brain cell. Guys,
Yeah.
it's rough out here with two neurons. I tell you,
Oh, it's twice as many as you had this weekend.
man,
Yeah,
they do duplicate.
they do. So,
Yeah,
uh,
overall good, but
Oh, I remember my thought. Sorry, Nick. I don't mean to cut you off.
perfect. I'm glad.
There were times that it really came up most noticeably to me in the final or the final scenario. I think I've seen before in campaign and scenario cards where like the designer will get out ahead of a misunderstanding and say, "Don't do this thing that you think you might have to do. Um, you will be instructed when you need to." Yada yada yada. I
Mhm.
remember we shot ourselves in the foot a bit in the final scenario because the math wasn't mathing, so to speak, on like a card being flipped over. The
Oh
the
yeah,
agenda carryover said we can't spend clues, period. And the only way we could access a location where there was somebody we knew we were going to required us to spend clues. And so
yep,
we had just assumed that it was an error in the instructions.
Yeah.
And so we did our best to like figure out what was going on there and say like, oh, okay, we must have, I guess we were supposed to swap this location for its alternative version, and then that
yeah,
fixes it. But like, it's kind of a double-edged sword because on the one hand, like, if this is no disrespect to the designer or the people that put so much time and effort and creative energy into these, like, but I have no better way to put this, and I'm also frankly brain tired, so please forgive me if this is coming out blunt. If there was trust built that the scenario would fix itself under all circumstances and that we could trust the instructions, we would never have run into that.
Yeah. But
But
because of
but
the things we ran into in the campaign, we've
throughout, yeah, that like
yeah.
because of omissions or unclear instructions, and just because Chad is Chad, no offense. No, just kidding.
I'm
we
I'm not I'm
ran,
fallible.
we came up against it, and like what we should have done is just trusted the instructions, but we didn't because it wasn't clear that we were supposed to, and that it wasn't a typo or an omission.
Mhm.
And it ended up kind of like messing up our not just like our tempo, like it wasn't like oh, we did this differently, like it had like
It had
second and third
actual
order
consequences.
effects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we advanced a little earlier than we were supposed to, and it was just because it was like, oh yeah, we replaced one location, but there's another location that was also set aside, and as you said, it didn't make sense to us looking at the board. Like, okay, we still can't do anything with this, and that you know we we fixed it. We made it smoothed it out as best we could, but I was
In the end,
also
it didn't stop us from accomplishing what we were trying to do, but it's just because at that point it was kind of hard to roll back everything. It was definitely a genie we couldn't put fully back in the bottle.
yeah, but it wasn't a huge. It
It
wasn't
didn't break
like
the game.
it
Yeah.
wasn't like the exhibition where we're like, oh, we totally missed this thing. It's like, no, we just advanced early, and we're just gonna say that the first Doom or doesn't count because we shouldn't have advanced so early. As we try to fix this. But yeah, I as I said, happy to have played it. Happy to play it again. I not 100% sure where I'd put it on my ranking. I just kind of need to sit with it and play with it again. See how it shakes out in different instances.
Hmm.
But that's just me.
Yeah. Overall, still fun Arkham.
Yep.
Yeah.
Still fun Arkham. Well, with that, I think we'll call it an evening. Thank you guys, as always, for joining me.
Oh,
Thanks for
thank
having
you.
us.
If anybody wants to get in contact with me about anything, feel free to reach out to me at therestrictedcollection@gmail.com. Otherwise, you can find me around as Head Librarian Chad on Reddit and Discord. Thanks for listening.